cousin.
Hi, cousin.
Welcome to Calling Cousins. This is Cousin Ash calling from Arizona. We want to thank everyone for joining us today.
Cousin Shaw here, calling from Colorado. Being a grown up is overrated. Hopefully, we have some beneficial advice on how to guide you in the right direction with our Adulting 101 section of our podcast.
Yep, being an adult is the dumbest thing I have ever done. Wanted to start off this podcast by saying that there are a few trigger warnings in here. If you don't want to hear about loss of a loved one or death, please feel free to skip this one and move on to another podcast that we have recorded. All right, in this episode, we are going to talk about grieving and how we're processing things and our little suggestions and all the things.
If you couldn't tell, we're grieving. We're through.
This is fresh wound for us, so we wanted to talk with it through everybody.
Yeah.
Wait, through it with everybody? That sounded right.
Talk through it with everybody.
I said it backwards before.
Also, we were sitting next to each other, so it's a special podcast.
It is. Hopefully it sounds okay.
So I don't want to give too much detail, but we had a family member that obviously has passed, and actually, I think I kind of want to talk about both
Yeah, like,
because of the different instances.
right.
So our family has experienced both kinds. I'm sure there's more kinds, but these are the two big kinds of death, is the unexpected and the expected. Yeah. And the differences between both of them, because it is a massive difference. And I honestly don't know which way is better. They both
They
suck.
both sucked. Yeah.
Okay, so the two that we lost is an aunt and an uncle. Our uncle he died suddenly, that he was the unexpected.
Yeah.
And then our aunt was the expected. So
And his was 5 years ago.
6.
6?
6.
Oh, my Lanta.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. 2019.
Because our children were 1.
Yep. You're so right. So anyway, 6 years ago.
Yeah, so when we're referencing we're talking about the unexpected when we say she.
I'm talking
It's
about the
the-
more expected.
Yeah, which is the more recent one.
Yes.
So denial. So with him, I mean, obviously it was just a blur with the expected or unexpected, because that's like just a long stage of denial.
Right. Well, this to me I think this was actually the fastest stage for me.
Denial
Yeah,
for him or her.
for him. Because
Man, see, I still feel like I'm in somewhat of a denial.
I think I'm struggling with acceptance, but I know that it happened.
Let's
Right?
see. Okay, and then another frame of reference for me, and cousin Ash might have a different one because now we'll just talk about all of them. But I had a different death in my life with my friend that was very traumatic. I think I've talked about it before. It's actually, long story short, how I became a mother. That because of the
Grieving
choices that I made.
Grieving process.
With her, so she was my friend from high school, and she OD'd, and she went missing, and we couldn't find her for a week, and all the things. And so hers is big denial for me, because I still to this day, and that happened about 8 or 9 years ago, and it was basically, I just heard that she died, and I never saw proof. So I'm just constantly in denial for that one. I feel like I keep going back to denial. With our uncle, I would agree. I know it. I saw it. I saw him after. Same with our aunt, there is no denial. And our aunt is different because it's been several months that we were watching it happen. So
Yeah.
definitely no denial there. I see what you mean.
Well, I think like the denial. So with our aunt, the grieving process started a few months ago
Yeah.
when we knew it was going to happen quickly.
Right.
And so I feel like at that point I was in denial. Like, no, she's not sick. She's not, like, everything's okay. She'll be fine.
At the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, she always. Shut up, I'm talking.
I'm sorry.
Jeez.
I'm getting all choked up.
At that point, we were talking about it, and, I was like, oh, well, she always pulls through. She always makes it out.
Through, yes.
She's always fine. And so I think I was in denial at that point.
Okay.
So I do think, like, my denial for our uncle was just really fast. Because it was like...
Were you living? You were living here. You were here? You were there that night?
No. I was in Arizona.
Wow. Okay.
And so I remember that call. I got the call.
Just a little bit. I won't go into detail, but he had a heart attack. And so our family is very, 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 very close.
Very close.
And we all, those of us that were in Colorado were there within, as far as the drive was. So we were all there.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't fit us in the little chapel, basically, that they have at hospitals.
Which is so, like, the nurse I heard came out and said how loving that was, how lucky he was to have such an awesome family.
Yeah.
And that's just so cool to hear,
Yeah, because there was just no doubt in our minds that we had to be there. And so those of us that were in Arizona obviously couldn't be there. But
we left, because we were getting calls, right? And then we got called very quickly after the first hospital run call. And then from there, I think we packed up and we drove out the next day.
I think you're right, yeah.
So it might have been 2 days later because we had to, like, get things in order with work and stuff like that. But either way, we were out there I don't even know either. I know we drove straight through and it was a whole thing. But,
I think I didn't really have a job at that point. That's probably why I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, you were working at home still.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
But I had a really awesome job at that point that let me work from Colorado, even though I was not full-time remote.
Oh, so that's right. Really cool. That was cool. That's what you had to do. That's right.
So that was awesome with them. But we were able to be out here, and I remember feeling angry about the situation, but I don't remember feeling angry at anybody.
So the next stage is anger.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me just jump ahead.
No, you're good. So that was our denial on all of them. Mm-hmm. Anger.
Yeah. Anger, I don't remember feeling angry. Maybe because of his smoking. I may have gotten angry at him for smoking. One thing I guess I subtly got angry about was that he wasn't honest about how he felt. He was just like always like, I'm fine. And he was taking on a lot of stress. Yeah, he really was.
And he wasn't communicating that. And I think that's one of the things that took him was the amount of stress that he was putting on himself. Yeah. So I think there's a little bit of anger there. But I really didn't have much anger with him.
I don't remember that either. Like, I don't remember anger. I agree. That one kind of was also really quick. And then
with our aunt, I definitely don't have any anger there.
No, absolutely not.
I had anger at the family for a while because I had to take it out on somebody.
Right. I feel like that's normal. Like
especially since we're so close.
Yeah. And then again, I was in Arizona when we found out everything.
True.
So I was angry that I couldn't be there to help.
True.
So maybe more angry at myself.
Oh, I see. That's true, because you could have anger at yourself. I definitely had anger at myself, too. And I think I had more anger at myself, like, towards the last couple weeks because I wasn't present with her. Mm-hmm. And that made me mad.
Yeah.
But I don't have a lot of anger towards her specifically.
Yeah. Well, and so we're going back. So another very close one to me was my papa. And he passed also, I think, 6 years ago. So it was, no, more. Hold on, let me do math. 10 years ago. So it was the year that I got married, he passed. And that one was very hard to me. So he was a father figure. He took me hunting and on the motorcycle and all this stuff. And I was angry with him. Because he was like that stubborn old man, that
Yeah.
like never went to the doctor, never did this. He was like, whatever, it'll just go away. And we're pretty sure that he knew he was sick for a very long time and he just never took care of it.
Or told anybody?
Or told anybody. I'm pretty sure my Nana knew just because, they were married and she knew him well enough. But I was really angry with him. I remember that. Because his was also, it was cancer. And when we found out, I think they gave us 2 months and he was 2 weeks. I think my timeline is wrong. It was probably a little bit longer than that, but that's how it felt. And it was just so fast. And I remember being so upset with him because he could have maybe if he had caught it early or whatever, things may have just been different. But because he was a stubborn old man.
And said, "You fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine."
Yeah. Then I couldn't. So that was the only time I think I've been angry with somebody, like that.
Right. Well, and I definitely have anger towards my friend that OD'd. Obviously, that was her, she didn't OD as in she purposely did, but she shouldn't have done drugs.
Right.
I mean, I know that's easier said than done for some people, but I had a lot of anger at that one.
Yeah.
And so there was days that I remember I used to do it along before I had kids, but I would just go drive every time I just needed to be alone. And I would just go, like one time I drove like a 4-hour round trip because I needed to be alone. And I did that a lot after she passed. And I would just blast my music and I would literally scream at her and then cry, and then I had to pull over because I couldn't see because I was crying.
But I feel like that's so healthy.
Yeah.
Like you were getting it out.
Yeah.
In your own way.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that a lot of people should do.
Yeah.
Like those rage rooms, man.
Rage rooms, yeah, that's what I should have done.
Yeah, well, I don't think they existed at that point. I think they're fairly new. Because I remember I always said I wanted to go to a junkyard and just beat up things.
Yeah,
So
but they gotta sell that stuff.
Well, I guess maybe a dump. Whatever.
Just take our own stuff and go beat it up.
Yeah, I was like just picture like an old school TV and just
then take it to a dump.
Hammer.
Oh,
Yeah.
like on How I Met Your Mother when he kept buying TVs and taking them out to the back.
Yeah.
Slamming them.
Yes, exactly like that.
What's the pixelation on that one? Okay, good.
But yeah, that's exactly how I felt. And that's what you were doing.
Yeah.
You were getting your anger out. So I feel like that's good. And also proud of you for pulling over when you were crying because, I don't want to be dangerous.
Yeah, I don't want to be up there with her. Anyways, sorry. Okay.
All right. The next one is bargaining. And I always kind of struggle with this one. I don't feel like I do this very often because, we are religious and...
Hold on. For those of us that don't understand what this means, like me, during this stage, individuals may try to bargain for a different outcome or undo the loss. How? What?
Well, this is where people, like religious people especially, will like pray to God. Like, if you let them live, I will, be the best person in the world
so this
for
isn't
forever.
after the loss.
It could undo the loss. So, like, you're praying for a miracle. I don't know. Like, I don't really understand the undo the loss part. Maybe that's when...
Man, I'm such a factual person. I'm like, don't be dumb. They're gone. Like...
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, think about... I don't know. Think about, like, all the movies that you see. Like, Frankenstein was... Well, I guess not. But the one we just... Lisa Frankenstein or whatever. The stupid
Oh, gosh,
one.
so dumb.
That one was, like... She wanted to bring someone back, so like, right, shocked him to life or whatever, like that kind of stuff.
Desperation.
Yeah. So
Okay.
like, think about all those movies I bet would be based off grief and like trying to bargain and figure it out.
That's so interesting. Learn something new every day.
I mean, I could be wrong, but that's just my outlook on it.
Okay.
But like the prank, I feel like while they're still alive, like in our aunt's situation where she got sick, I could see a lot of people bargaining for her to be around longer, to pray to God and pray for a miracle and all this stuff, which, like I can't say that I didn't do that. I can't say that I was like, oh, but mine was more like, please help the family, get through this. And then please, what was one thing I did say? Like, please give us as much time as possible. Pretty much was like I wasn't saying don't make it happen, but I just wanted to be selfish and have as much time as possible.
Yeah, I would
Kind of
say,
thing.
okay. So, like, with our uncle, there was no bargaining.
Right, with me either, because you can really.
With, yeah, with our aunt, I would say I'd had some bargaining before, right? Praying before, please give us more time, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Please make sure she's not in pain, that kind of stuff. And then I guess I did have a little bit of bargaining with my friend.
Oh, when she was missing?
Well, definitely when she was missing. I forgot about that part. But I would say even after she died, I was more like, it's not true. Like, let her show up.
Well,
like,
that might have been denial too, though.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay, so maybe no bargaining. But definitely prior to... So with the expected deaths, I would say there's lots of bargaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also something that I want to point out. We're not done with these yet, but my mother pointed out these are the 5 stages of grief, and they're usually in this order, but not everyone processes everything in this order. So like what she was saying is that her friend was missing, so she was probably bargaining at that point, but then when we found out she had passed, it was denial after.
Yes.
So it wasn't
yes.
in the same order.
And these come back around too.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So
like I had the denial and the anger, and I'm always back to denial with my friend.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. And the next one I feel like is the longest stage when you're grieving is depression.
Oh man.
And I know it, in my opinion with this one, it's more like how close you were to them. And I know that sounds,
For sure.
it's not even like if you saw them every day, but like just simply your relationship with them, you know what I mean? But also, I mean, I guess if you see them every day, because we knew like our cousins obviously are going to feel this a lot longer than we might, because they were living with them. They were in the house. They did dinners together, you know, like that kind of stuff. It was a daily thing. Whereas like I remember when my papa passed, I called his phone number one time.
On accident?
On accident. Oh, I mean, like I was like calling him, and then I got another man picked up, and I was like, "Oh, sorry," and like I felt so stupid, but like he was a truck driver. He was gone all the time anyway.
So you were used to him being, and I think
Yeah.
that's how I felt with my uncle. Like it was hard. Like I didn't have a lot of memories with him and time with him. And so my depression stage with him wasn't very, like, I think it was mostly at the memorial than anything that I had that stage, that I actually did grieve for him. But, you know, he wasn't, even when he was at our family functions, he never talked.
Well, he was definitely the reserved, like funny guy.
Yeah.
Like if you talk to him,
He would have a
crack
random joke. Yeah, exactly.
But he was not like I
Have
don't
deep
know.
conversations.
I don't know if you can tell this vibe from us, but like our family is very loud and a lot. And like our Easter, half of us were still in Arizona, and they still had like 28 people
Yeah.
at that event. And like that's like with two kids, okay? Like that's all adults. That's all cousins and everybody that just show up, and it's awesome. And sometimes I hate it, I'm not gonna lie. But sometimes like I love it. I love that I have that, and I pray for that all the time.
Yeah, I have
About how grateful I am.
I have both sides, right? So like on my mom's side, I have the big, loud, close family. And on my dad's side, it's very, I guess we're kind of big on that side, but
You don't get together as
no,
often.
we don't even do once a year. We used to do once a year. Now we don't even do that. We talk every once in a while. We're more acquaintances than anything. But,
Yeah.
So I have both sides.
But over here we have a family messenger that
Yes,
like
we
literally
do.
gets updated every day.
Yes, we do.
Like my cousin just started a new job, and that was put in there. You know, like
yeah,
it's
exactly.
just-
So we all know what's going
we
on.
all know, yeah, everything. Like the kids
Easy
graduated, we
announcements,
send
yeah.
pictures, all the stuff. Like it's great. So
Yeah.
that's how it is. And so because of that, people that come into our family, like all the married in people, like I remember my uncle, my husband, and our other uncle would always be outside, just the three of them,
Well, and
just
even
hanging out because they're like, that family's too much.
even our other aunt, she said it was overwhelming when she came in, and now she loves it. She doesn't know how to cope without it. So it's
Yeah.
like when we don't have big family gatherings, it makes her sad. But back in the day when she first joined us, it was like she said it was
overwhelming.
really overwhelming. And so I think our uncle just kind of stayed in the overwhelming, and he was just kind of a. I mean, I don't know about that though, because one of his daughters is the same way. So
I just think it's how they are.
he's
Like,
just he was. But anyways, yeah. So I didn't have a lot of specific memories with him and that kind of stuff. With my aunt, I definitely had a closer bond with her, so I've been kind of in and out of the depression
yeah.
with her. Like I think about it, it hurts, I feel heavy, and then my son needs something, and then I'm distracted and back to realization. You know what I mean? And then I forget about it, and then it comes back, and then I go to her house and I just sit and it starts to feel heavy, and then dinner's ready, and so yay, I get to eat, and then I forget about it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like it's just kind of like an in and out with her. With my friend, the depression took me pretty dark.
Yeah. But again, you would not have your son if you didn't go through that. So
Right.
that's like kind of the
Well, and hers was
blessing
more
in disguise.
while she was missing. Like that's I think what messed me up, because she was missing for a week, and I think during that week that was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through.
Well,
And I think that's why I had such bad depression. Like I don't know if if it was like it was a situation like my uncle, if that's how she died, if I would have gone into such a bad depression. But since she was missing, I think that's what really hit.
yeah. And then also what I remember about that situation is that they were talking to a psychic, and
Two.
two psychics, and
Two.
both of them were saying that she was in a warehouse somewhere being like trafficked.
Yeah.
And so there was hope. There was hope that they were going to find her in a warehouse,
But
and she would be
also
okay. Like,
but
I
also the
mean,
fact that she was there was messing me up too.
yeah.
But I don't know. There's differences of opinions of that specific part of it, but
Yeah.
I just chalked it up to she OD'd and was in her car the whole time.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think that's why I had depression pretty hard with that one. And I don't know, like I always think about it like with my parents. Like I feel like I would go into a pretty bad depression, but I also can't do that because I have a kid,
Right.
you know.
I saw, like, it's funny because I keep relating it to one scene in the stupidest show.
What?
Jane the Virgin, did you watch that
Heck
one?
yeah, I did.
And there's like a part where her fiance passes suddenly,
Oh, that's right.
and she looked at her grandma and she's like, how do I move on? And her grandma looked at her son and she was like, for him, like, you move on for your son, right?
Yeah.
And I think about that, I'm like, if, because I'm a catastrophizer, or whatever, as my mom says, I catastrophize
Oh.
things.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, sometimes when I think about, like, what if my husband, and then I'm like, okay, I'd have to. Like, you have to move on for your children. Or even
Yeah.
in, like, this situation. Like, this hurts. I was also very close with my aunt. And it sucks. And sometimes I just want to lay in bed all damn day. But you know what? I can't.
Right.
And that's okay. Like, and it's probably better for me that I can't. And, it's fine. And I agree with the little distractions, and my children are cause for most of those distractions. And I make sure to like take time to cry when I need to.
Right.
And I'm also, okay with them seeing it.
Oh, definitely. Never hide your tears from your children. Show them that emotions are
Are
healthy.
okay, yeah. Yeah, so I let them see it, and when they come to me and give me a hug, because my children are adorable and I love
Right.
them so much, I just say, that I'm missing her. And then, they say that they're missing her too. So anyway, I do agree. I think that the depression is definitely the longest stage in this.
Yeah.
Another thing with depression is this is where I feel like you're in the stage. It's the longest one, and therapy. I know I'm always pushing therapy
know,
on you
yeah.
guys, but it's definitely like, as much as people don't think that they need it a lot of the time, it's just helpful, even if you don't feel like you need it. Even if it's like a distant person that passed or whatever, like,
It's the non-biased opinion. That's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like we all should talk about it. We can't just keep it down. You have to talk about it. So talk about it with somebody that's non-biased, that's not going to judge you.
Plus, they give you so many tools on how to help, like journaling. Okay, I know everybody says journaling. Some people are just not journalers. So then they'll talk about other things. Or if you're having a hard time sleeping, they'll give you meditation tools or, all this kind of stuff. Or maybe supplement like herbs that you can try and that kind of stuff. I'm not against antidepressants, but sometimes those are also needed to get you through a hard time.
But again, go see a professional.
Yeah, I don't think that's a therapist. I think at that point that's a psychologist.
That's a psychiatrist.
Yeah, psychiatrist.
Psychologist is the therapist.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
squirrel.
But I do think that when you're stuck in the depression phase, therapy is just so needed. I mean, and I think that, even one session to get some tools is great. So
definitely. The last one is acceptance. And cousin had mentioned it a little bit ago about like, it just feels like it's the moment. But I feel like acceptance is actually a sadder stage because because you know it, right? It's like it's official, and it makes it real, and that's hard for some people. So I don't know if acceptance, or it could be the good acceptance, right? It's like, okay, like we accepted that they're in heaven and that's where we stay. That's where the acceptance is comfortable.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like you're either in denial or acceptance, like one of the two.
Yeah.
I don't know, like with my friend, I still, like, I have a tattoo of her, like for a memory, and even though I got that tattoo, I'm still in denial, I will say. Because I even have dreams where we run into each other and we start laughing about my awkward tattoo because she's right there, right?
Oh, that's kind of cute.
So I don't know if I'll ever get to the acceptance stage. And I am, her situation traumatized me so much to where I basically, like, I need to see the person afterwards to get to that acceptance stage, to have closure. I need closure. Because just hearing about it, I can't. I think it's just because it messed me up so much. That was my first real experience of death, aside from like putting our dogs down. But I feel like I need that gruesome part of seeing the aftermath.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't feel that way, but I think maybe I had a reverse trauma because the first experience I had of death, I was a child.
You saw it.
And I saw it, and I won't go into too many details, but it was a very gruesome thing. And then they had an open casket, and I don't believe that they should have done that because they tried to hide things, and it just made it harder for me to see as a child. And that was so I'm okay not, because I would have rather have remembered that was another uncle for me. I would have rather have remembered him in the light, yeah. But now the first thought that I think of when I think of him is that.
Well, and that's true. Like, if it's a gruesome scenario, I probably don't want to see.
Well, and hers
the aftermath. But hers was internal. Oh, yeah, no.
Sitting for a week.
I see. Okay. So I'm getting the hers confused. Okay, so my friend, if I saw her, that would have traumatized me for sure. But the fact that I never got to see that traumatized me in a different way because of the denial stage is the closure. I never got the closure. But like with my aunt and uncle, our aunt and uncle, theirs were internal things, so there was no gruesomeness.
Yeah.
So it didn't bother me to see him that way. And some people, it does bother them to see them even that way, even when there's no gruesomeness happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's if it's a gruesome death, I don't think seeing would give me closure. It would definitely, I don't care how old I am, I feel like that would give me trauma.
Yeah, it was very traumatic for me. So yeah. I'm okay not, but then like our great grandmother, when we went to go see her a few years ago, I'm pretty sure we didn't, it was a closed casket for her.
I didn't look.
I'm,
At my other experiences, like with her and with my brother's friend, I remember my brother's friend was open casket, and we, out of respect, because he was in the military, you had to walk by the casket, and it was open, and I turned away. Mom actually made me turn away because she didn't want me. And I was, I think in my 20s.
were you? I thought you were still a teenager.
Maybe
like
18,
16.
19. No, definitely not.
Wow.
Because I was with my first long-term boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
And so I was at least 18. I was between 18 and 20. So I was pretty old, and she still was like, turn away, because that was, but I think his was also, you could see the gruesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it does just but depend. But so how do you feel not seeing our uncle?
I'm okay with it.
You
I
had
feel like,
acceptance and everything?
yeah. I feel like having the memorial is so helpful at that point, because then we all got to sit there, talk about his memories, and cry together.
Yeah, I did that with my friend, and it didn't fix anything. I saw the urn. She was there
Well,
in the urn.
but we,
But
it's
it
just
still
different
didn't.
stages. And I don't know, maybe it like wasn't real at that point, but I do remember like there was one specific, maybe that was it. Like there was one specific song that I basically like let myself just bawl my eyeballs out.
With him?
Yeah. At the memorial. And then afterwards I was like, okay, like that was it. Like that he's not with us anymore.
That's true, because even with our great uncle, but I also saw him like days before he passed.
Yeah.
And I even cried that day because I just had a feeling that was the last time I was going to see him.
But that's like, that was another kind of more expected one. And I think the sudden ones are what get you.
That's true.
But, and I also just think a high school friend, somebody your age, like that is hard.
That's true.
And just in general. And, but there is, sorry, we got a little deeper. There is something, since we were talking about acceptance, that I think of all the time. And if I can find the picture and if we can post it with this, I will try to do it. But it's like, so it's this big black ball, okay? And that's your grief. And it takes up your whole entire little square of life, right? Like you're just so sad because something big just happened. And then it talks about like, a day down the road, you made a new memory, you laughed with somebody, and then it talks about like a year down the road and your box keeps getting bigger and bigger and your box is white. So it just talks about how like your grief never changes. It is always this big black ball, but your life grows around it. Mm-hmm. And so you have to keep on keeping on.
You do. So
that you can not move past the grief or forget about the grief, because it will always be there. You had love and that will just always be there. But so that you don't become this empty thing, like you have to keep going on, and they would want you to anyway. So like it just,
yeah, I wouldn't want anybody to stay sad.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but we'll try to post it so you can see. But yeah, so I do think acceptance is a hard one, and that's what I was gonna say, is that you feel like it's gonna be this big light that's like, oh, but in reality I think that all of a sudden one day you're like, oh, you see a picture and you're like, I really miss them, but but you're feeling okay, like you're feeling like they're in peace, and
so there is a little bit of a lightness there. I can see that,
but it's not like a eye-opening, oh my god, I'm over it, it's not like that. It's like they're okay and I'm okay.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's something. Like, I feel like our family is all, but how Cousin Shaw said, these stages come and go, and you can go back. So I feel like we're obviously in depression, because this is very recent for us, our aunt. Mm-hmm. But part of the acceptance is a big one, because our aunt and uncle, I don't know if you could tell by how we were speaking about them, but they were married.
Yep.
So our uncle was very sudden, and our aunt had to live without him while going through all these health issues.
So she was going through grief while going through health issues.
And that was hard. And she did that for 6 years. Mm-hmm. And now we can sit there and we can smile because
they're together again.
They're in heaven. They're dancing. And
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
And she always missed him, and so it is nice to know that she's with him again, and we appreciate that she fought for the additional 6 years, and
Yeah, we got that time.
yeah,
That was for us, not for
Yeah.
her. Let's be real.
I know exactly. But yeah, so anyways, hopefully everybody can handle theirs. And we hope that this brought you any kind of understanding or even just listening to it, and make sure to, even look up the stages and make sure that you're, I think it's helpful, like when it comes to like if you look at it from a therapeutic side, if you look at the stages, be like, okay, like you can talk through those stages with yourself. Just doing that alone can help you. Be like, okay, this is it, and also think about how much that person wants you to be okay.
Yeah. You need to have some self-love.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself, even though that's probably the hardest thing to do with some of these,
Yeah.
I agree with that, totally. And again, therapy. Don't tip your nose up to it. If you need it, go. And church is a great way to find a good therapist. Every single church that I've heard of has, they also have grieving, what am I trying to say?
Oh, they have groups.
Groups, yes. They have like small groups where you can grieve. Every church that I've been to has offered that.
Yeah, there was one that I went, I forget what it was exactly. But yeah, there's a lot of church ones. Obviously, you can find it with a therapist and that kind of stuff. But there is, dang it, that's gonna bother me now. But anyways, there are options out there, and they, just talking about it helps, even though you don't want to talk about it, because the more you talk about it, the more
you drudge up.
Well, and the more the reality hits. You know? So
that is true. But we are obviously very pro therapy, and if you don't want to do therapy, maybe get a self-help book, because those are also good to help you work through, or start journaling. Just write it down, whatever you're feeling, and that might help.
Definitely.
But I have a quote, and I always say it's a cute one, but you know what it is. That says, "Perhaps they are not stars in the sky, but rather openings where our loved ones shine down on us, or shine down to let us know they are happy."
Cute.
And that's an Eskimo legend, which I think is adorable. Like I always say, it's adorable.
Totes adorbs. Please remember to like, follow, and connect with us. We are now on Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook pages. Just search Calling Cousins. Love you all. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, health, tax, or professional advice. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast. This podcast is not intended to replace professional medical advice.